After you went out of Yechidus and you sat down and wrote up what the Rebbe told you, so you should have it written down and remember as much as you can for what the Rebbe said, because if you wait for later, then you might forget. So you would write it down. Then you would sit for a long time and think over everything that took place, everything that the Rebbe said, every word that the Rebbe said. So you should be able to internalize it, because the experience was overwhelming that now you have to bring it down into Kalim. And that's what you would do. This feeling of iskashas that you had when you were inside by the Rebbe, feeling that you're connected to the Rebbe, mamish, you alone, and it's a personal feeling of iskasha that me and the Rebbe, my iskashas of the Rebbe, you would feel it mamish in a very, very special way, would continue for a long time afterwards. Obviously, eventually it wears off. But not only days, weeks afterwards, you would feel a personal connection to the Rebbe. Which means, in simple words, you would stand in the shul, and by Mincha Ma'ariv, when the Rebbe would come out and stand in his corner, and you would be amongst the people davening, and you'd look at the Rebbe. I remember what went through my mind many times, those days, weeks, is looking, the Rebbe is my Rebbe. In other words, you felt that it's mine, I have a special connection, which is something that you can't feel always. But at that time, Begashmis, you felt it, and it was nimshech throughout many weeks later on also. When Yechidus stopped, because in the Lameds, the Rebbe stopped Yechidus, it's now hard to feel that way. Because even though the Farbrengens were like Yechidus, we know that the Rebbe wrote that word. Once the Rebbe even wrote to somebody, when he asked to go into Yechidus Protis, the Rebbe wrote to him, Bevada yineg keminig anash bizman ha'achren shenichnosim liyechidus beis ha'isvades. That for sure you're going to behave like Anash behaved later times now, that they go into Yechidus during the time of a Farbrengen. So Farbrengen was like a Yechidus. But mitzad us, we didn't feel that way. Mitzad the Rebbe, for sure, it was the same way as a Yechidus. But mitzad the Mekabel, mitzad us, you didn't feel it because you didn't feel this personal connection that you had when you went into Yechidus. And even by dollars, when you had a moment to stop by the Rebbe, and if you had to say something, you would say, it's still, you didn't feel the same way. It's only for a moment. And also, it was in public. The feeling wasn't there. So, but when you went into Yechidus Protis, that feeling was so strong, and it continued for a long time afterwards. And it wasn't just a feeling which made the person commit himself to do more what the Rebbe wants. Now, just the Seder of Yechidus, I'm going to say at the next recording.